Welcome in. It's time for another edition of the Morning Espresso on the SDH Network, presented as always by our friends at Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. I'm Jason Longshore. All the soccer news you need to know for Monday, March 24th. And typically on Mondays, we're going to start with Atlanta United, but in light of the Concacaf Nations League, we're going to start with the U.S. men's national team and their loss in the third place game to Canada. Started really well, didn't get enough out of the good start. The response to Canada standing up and taking the game away from the U.S., it wasn't great. Matt Turner's distribution wasn't great. Patrick Ajimon, he got a goal, has shown to be the best of the number 9 options lately. Diego Luna, in my opinion, needs to be on the field as much as possible. And what he brings on the field is really good. He has the assist in this one, but I think the attitude and the spark that he brings on and off the ball is so needed with this group. Canada was really good, even maybe especially after they lost Alphonso Davies to injury. Alistair Johnston was outstanding, put Fossey in his pocket in the second half trying to get forward. Jonathan David was that clinical number 9 when needed. Canada was relentless. They never backed down. They never lost their confidence. They played with a chip on their shoulder. And I think it highlighted something that frustrates me about where this U.S. men's national team is, and something that kind of highlights the challenge of this group right now. They're in this weird spot where they're good enough to make teams like Panama sit back, defend deep, dare you to try to find a way through a 5-4-1. They're good enough to do that, but they're not good enough to intimidate a team that's on the same level like Canada. Um, and Canada was not intimidated by any stretch. So you're good enough to force teams to sit back and defend deep, which makes it hard for you, but you're not good enough to outplay teams that are on your same level. And the question going into the World Cup, because you're going to see teams that are above your level, how do you handle those games? Because the teams less than your level, which you will see, they've shown they can sit back and defend against you and make life difficult. The teams that are at your same level have shown they're not afraid of you. I don't know if you can be the underdog darling against a team that's better right now. I don't know if this team has that personality. 5 shots in a game like this is just flat out not good enough. 2 on target. Canada doubled you up in shots on target and almost doubled you up in shots in total. What's the big picture for this U.S. men's national team? Because look, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of people going into the drafts on their social media platforms of choice and pulling out things that have been written before, reheating things that have been said before. There's lots of that. Look, it's time to make your statements and get the script writers out and do your performance to get attention and get clicks. That's what people are going to do right now. Let's get real here on the Morning Espresso rather than look for clicks and yell and scream and stomp my feet. What does Mauricio Pochettino learn from this? He's not going anywhere. These 2 games have to force a response, whether that's from the players, whether that's from him, whether that's a combination of both. There has to be a reaction to this. There really wasn't a lot said afterwards, and Pochettino says all the right things about this is over a year out from the World Cup. The goal is the World Cup. We've seen this happen before with host teams where you don't go through qualifying, you don't look great a year out, and then things turn around as you go into the World Cup. That's very true, and that happens, and it's not new to this U.S. team in this situation. You want to see a reaction to this, though, the first big setback for Pochettino, and you want to see better performances. You've got the Gold Cup in the summer. You've got friendlies between now and then you've got friendlies afterwards to get ready for the World Cup. And you got to get players in the best form possible. The Gold Cup just became a whole lot more important. And you're not going to be at full strength because you're going to be missing players to the Club World Cup this summer. That doesn't matter. Like for the US, winning the Gold Cup has to be the goal. And any thought about using it as an opportunity to see more of the player pool, that's gone now. You've got to go and try to win that tournament. You've got to show that in games that matter and knockout games that you can get the job done. Look, I know a lot of people in this reaction, again, talking about going back into the drafts of old messages, you're going to go back to that and you're going to yell about pay to play and you're going to yell about more kids playing and you're going to yell about we want our best athletes playing and all these different things that are real conversations to have. They didn't affect this game. If you want to get into a big long spiel and try to find a way that it did, sure, whatever. Have fun. I'm sure it will get attention, but what affected this game? What affected this performance in these two games? The group has too much talent to have these kind of results. It's unacceptable. It's not tactics to me. It's not coaching to me. It's not about caring enough. These guys care. It's about two things that I keep coming back to. It's the quality of the performance when it matters. It wasn't good enough, and the ability to rise above the pressure to perform. And what is a little concerning is it feels like that pressure is suffocating these players, and you're not getting. Sometimes when you see a team that's feeling pressure, they act kind of crazy. They're running around. They get stuck into tackles. They're too over the top dealing with that pressure. This team went the other way. They like turned within themselves and they looked very unbothered by it, but in a bad way. Like you want to see a team that can handle pressure, but you want to see a team that understands it's dealing with pressure. I don't think we saw that in this tournament. Um, Look, big picture with soccer in this country, of course we want to see more access for kids to play. Of course we want to see better coaching to develop those kids. We want to see more professional environments. All of those things are valid. That's not why the team lost to Panama and Mexico. If you want to try to draw that map, have fun, go at it, whatever. The team had enough talent to win against Panama and Canada. Sorry, the team had enough talent to win. They didn't. It's down to that group. Is there another group of players somewhere hidden within this country that would have been better? No, that's not true. Don't believe that anymore. That was maybe true back in the 80s. It's not true now. Are there good players out there who are not part of the system? Yes, there are, and that needs to change. But that's not why this team lost. That is not the issue at the current moment. We want to see the pool get bigger. It has. We want to see it get even bigger. We want to see more kids develop to their highest potential. That's gotten better. It can still improve. Stop calling this a golden generation as well because others have won more and accomplished more. This is a very talented group with players playing at some of the highest levels that we've seen US players play at. That's true. But that doesn't make you a golden generation. What makes you a golden generation with a national team is what you achieve. And this group hasn't achieved enough. It hasn't been as bad as some will lead you to believe. Getting out of the group in 2022 was an accomplishment. Getting to the knockout round was an accomplishment. Based off the level that this team has, that is an accomplishment. You achieved what you should have achieved. Okay, that's good. That's good. Winning nations leagues in the past, that's good. These are good things. You haven't went above that. That's the next step. And right now, this group hasn't met in this current iteration, hasn't met the level. Has to change. And if that means you got to see things different in the summer, if that means you got to see different players, that's where you are right now. You can't sit back and cross your fingers and hope that performances change. You saw two games where there were major issues in both in terms of how the team performed under pressure. It wasn't good enough. What's different? Number 9, is it Patrick Agyemang? Right now, he's the guy who's performing. He's the guy who's putting the ball in the back of the net. I'm rolling with him at the moment. Didn't see anything from Josh Sargent to change my mind. Ricardo Pepi is hurt. Folarin Balogun hasn't really done anything different either. Right now, it's Patrick Agyemang. He at least gives you the ability to go be a wrecking ball up top if things aren't going well. And he's shown enough. He's putting the ball in the back of the net. So what else do you want from the number 9? Center back was a huge issue in these games. That's got to change. You got to figure out your center back pairing. You got to find two guys who can play together, and you got to find two guys who don't fold under pressure. Get your fullbacks back in Serginho Dest and Anthony Robinson. That's going to help things a lot. Fullback was an issue in this tournament. I thought Max Arfston looked pretty good yesterday. Matt Turner's got to be playing regularly to be sharper. Everybody's saying it. It's true. He didn't look great. The goal that he conceded in the Panama game was an issue. His distribution in the Canada game was an issue. It's got to be better. He's got to play consistently for that to happen. Okay, let's move over to the final. We can sit here and complain and talk about the U.S. men's national team all we want, but it doesn't change that they weren't good enough in these two games. All right, let's move on to the final of the Concacaf Nations League. Panama fought very bravely against Mexico, but couldn't get it done. They conceded first really early. They tied it before halftime from the penalty spot. Just a crazy, inexplicable mistake from Jose Cordoba to concede a penalty with a handball that I have no idea what he was thinking. Raul Jimenez puts it away, his 40th goal for the Mexican national team. That wins the tournament for Mexico. They looked better than they have lately in the tournament, but they didn't look great. They didn't look convincing. Panama took them to the limit in this. It's a shame for Panama, who's been so close so many times to getting into that elite group, and they just haven't quite been able to do it. It's also a shame that we saw the game stopped in the 84th minute due to the discriminatory chanting that happens when Mexico isn't playing well. And that's how this is getting used now. And that point has to be made because this is not the same conversation that it used to be about, well, it's tradition and this is what we do. And no, 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 no. That's not what's happening now. It's not happening on the first goal kick of the game. It's not happening all night. It's happening when things aren't going well for Mexico or for your club, because we've seen it in CONCACAF games as well. We've seen it in others. It's not acceptable, and it's even more not acceptable in the way that it is currently being used. It is used as a way to punish your own team, which is so incredibly stupid, first off. In this game, look, it didn't end up making a difference. Panama had a chance to regroup. They didn't quite take it. The handball ends up taking them out of this thing. But it is a reaction to poor play or being upset with your team and weaponizing the chant, which people, and this is what is so frustrating. That means that the all the education that has been done to say this is not acceptable, this should not happen, has worked, because it doesn't happen all the time. It happens to try to punish your own team, and it's so stupid, and it's got to stop. And you've got to see, in my opinion, a better response, because now it's become a performative thing. Now it's become a, oh, we got the game stopped. Hee, look at us. Hey, look at this. We really showed them we're not happy. Stupid, stupid. And I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for the Mexican players. I feel bad for the Mexican coaching staff. I feel bad for the Mexican Federation. They've tried. They've done everything. La Liga, or Liga MX has done this. They've tried all of these things. They've put in the work. Again, it's worked. It's not happening all the time, but it can't happen ever. And it still happened again last night in the CONCACAF Nations League final. And it's just so frustrating. And I don't exactly know what to do about it at this point if you are Mexico and if you are trying to get this out of the game. Players have talked, federations have talked, clubs have talked, coaches have talked. I don't know what else can be done at this stage. It's very, 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 very upsetting. And I don't know. But it has changed in terms of how it's being used. And that does need to be recognized and makes it a little bit harder to eradicate. All right. We normally start these things on a Monday with Atlanta United. Let's get to Atlanta and Cincinnati. It was a draw on the road. Atlanta opened the scoring after losing Tristan Muyamba to injury. No update yet. We'll find out more this week. But Ronnie Dyla did say that he felt better about it after the game than he did initially, that it might not be a cruciate ligament. He mentioned meniscus as a possibility. So that's good news. It was a huge blow to lose Muyamba in this match because he'd been playing really well. He had a good tackle on the play where he ended up getting injured. And you didn't have a lot of depth in that central midfield position because of the international call-ups. We talked about 5 center backs, but you were also missing 2 central midfielders in Bartosz Szlich and Jay Fortune. Alexei Maranchuk had to drop deeper. Cayman Togashi came on as a pseudo number 10, and it worked. Togashi helps earn a throw, takes it quickly, so the AR and the referee can't think about, did the ball go off of Togashi? He takes the throw very quickly, sends Saba in, finds Latte Lot. Great finish, great cross, great goal. Kind of lost your way a little bit in the second half. Fortunate for Cincinnati, a deflection off of a free kick that beats Gazan from Evander. Then you get a second in quick succession. It's 2-1. Atlanta created an own goal to draw it, and Moranchuk was involved in it. He sent Saba in. Saba's cross deflects off of Alvis Powell. It would have found Latte Lot on the backside. 2-2 final felt about right. Honestly, I think Atlanta could have won. I don't know if I would say they should have won, but they could have won. And it's going to feel like a good draw on the road, but also 2 points possibly kind of sort of dropped. Will Riley was outstanding. I thought he was going to get subbed at halftime because of the yellow card situation, but you didn't really have any depth at the position, is one. And two, Ronnie Dylo was really clear afterwards and how much he believes in Will Riley and how good he was playing, which I completely agree with. I said he was my man of the match. Um, I thought the moment was going to be too big for him after getting that yellow and after getting the talking to. I thought he was going to have to come off. But Mateusz Klich couldn't go 45. And it ends up being where Riley stays on. And wow, was he great in the second 45, playing on a yellow and dealing with Evander as well as anybody could. And it wasn't really on him on the 2 goals. Matt Edwards was also very good. Yes, he commits the foul that leads to the free kick, but he was very, very good playing at center back. Saba was excellent. Saba looked more, I think, connected in this game, which was very good to see. Hopefully he can continue to kick on from here. It was a gritty performance. There's a lot of good things about it. It wasn't easy being down the players that you were down. It was not an easy day at the office, but you found a way to get something out of it on the road against a tough place to play, against a tough team to play, in a tough place to play. 2-2 draw. Atlanta comes back home next week. We'll be out at the training ground tomorrow. We'll have a training ground dispatch to fill you in on all the updates. Quick things around MLS this week. Nashville, they've won 3 straight after 2 bad first weeks, but they've rebounded very well under BJ Callahan. Chicago's won 3 straight under Greg Berhalter. They defeated previously unbeaten or untied Vancouver. Charlotte is off to their best start with 3 wins at home. Austin also has 3 wins, even if they were really wasteful in front of goal and allowed San Diego to hang around yesterday afternoon, to the point that CJ Dos Santos had a chance for an equalizer at the end. Nearly would have scored the goal of the day if the goalkeeper gets it. He doesn't, and San Diego ends up. I don't think it's a situation where they should feel like they should have won this or should have gotten some out of it. Austin should have scored 5. Brandon Vasquez got a goal, but he was very wasteful in front of goal. Austin was good enough, but man, they almost got punished for throwing goals away. All right, whole bunch of other stuff. We're going to try to get to these quickly. This is a very long morning espresso. Hopefully, you are enjoying all the caffeine on a Monday morning. New Zealand, they're enjoying their caffeine this morning. They won overnight 3-0 over New Caledonia. New Zealand are the second team to book their spot in the 2026 World Cup. Japan did last week. They win the Oceania qualifying tournament. First time a direct qualifying spot has gone to the region. Australia, they left the region for Asia because of how hard it was to get in. They kept losing in the interconfederational playoff. New Zealand hasn't qualified since 2010. They drew all 3 group games in South Africa, but they didn't get to the knockout rounds. New Caledonia still has an opportunity. They will go into that interconfederational playoff early next year. Mexican Club Leon, they have been removed from this summer's Club World Cup, violating FIFA's multi-club ownership rules. Leon was supposed to play Chelsea in their opening match in the tournament. Leon, majority owned by Grupo Pachuca, who also controls Pachuca, who's in the Club World Cup. FIFA regulations state that, quote, no individual or legal entity may have control or influence over more than one club participating in the competition. Both clubs have rejected the ruling and plan to appeal, so we'll see. There are other situations where you have ownership between a same group and multiple clubs, and I don't know exactly how you ensure that they don't have control or influence over more than one club. I'm not positive on that. It's a little hard to understand, and I don't own multiple clubs, so I don't have access to those rules. Alajuelense from Costa Rica, they demanded that FIFA enforce the multi-club rules. They think they could get in and replace Leon because of their continental club ranking. FIFA has not announced who will replace it yet. And again, there are still appeals waiting. Reading, they're running out of appeals. They could be thrown out of the English Football League if their owner, De Jong, does not sell the club before April 5th. The Chinese businessman was disqualified as an owner under the league owners and directors test in February, an action made public at Commercial Court in London on Friday. April 5th isn't very far away. There have been efforts to buy Reading, and I don't have all of the information on where those stand at the moment, but something's got to get done here. And I don't understand why he wouldn't sell if he's up against this wall at this point, because he's not going to make money by the club being thrown out of the EFL. He's only going to make money by selling it to somebody. Good luck, Reading fans. Sorry, Jess Charman. I feel very bad for your Reading team. I went through this back in the day with the Atlanta Ruckus and the Atlanta Silverbacks on, are they going to stick around? Are they going to survive? Are they going to be back? Oh, owner's gone. Now the league's running it. Oh boy, here we go. I've been through it. Those were very young clubs. Reading is not, and they should not be in this situation. Hopefully they can find a way out of it. Quick update on the 2031 Women's World Cup bid. Henry Bushnell of Yahoo Sports had a great article that might have flown under the radar this weekend with everything going on. U.S. Soccer formulating a bid for the 2031 World Cup that would include or could include proposals to stage some games in other countries throughout CONCACAF. The U.S. will definitely bid to host the tournament. Whether they bid jointly with regional partners or take control of the bid, but then divvy up some games, we'll see. Deadlines are coming up to formally express and affirm interest to FIFA. That's going to happen. The U.S. led bid is going to more than likely loop in multiple nations from CONCACAF. Initially, U.S. Soccer was going to bid with Mexico for the 2027 Women's World Cup. They withdrew it. They said that they would be willing to, or they would be focusing their bidding on 2031. That was an interesting whole situation, and maybe the political climate within FIFA kind of manufactured the way things played out. Over the past year, since they withdrew the 2027 bid, the plans have evolved. It's not going to be just a joint country bid. It's looking more like new kinds of proposals where a few games could end up in, say, Costa Rica or Jamaica. The bid's going to be the favorite with FIFA because it's only going to be between CONCACAF nations and African nations to host the 2031 Women's World Cup. 2035 will be either in Europe or in Africa. It's more than likely that any kind of bid from the U.S. is going to get this. Sources said that they expect South Africa to launch a bid, but that could be 2031 or that could be 2035. 2035, it looks like a joint United Kingdom bid is going to be heavily favored. FIFA wants the tournament in the U.S. in 2031. There's just no way around. It might not even go up for a challenge. So then that gives FIFA, U.S. Soccer, cities around the United States, stadiums around the United States, counterparts in other CONCACAF nations, they'll all get to figure it out. What it sounds like is you have to express your formal interest, and in your bid, you have an idea of what it's going to look like, but then that could evolve after the deadline. So it could be US and Mexico, for example, that bid. And then after you get it, say, hey, we're going to give some games to Costa Rica. Hey, we're going to give some games to Jamaica. And then you got to work with FIFA to get that done, but that can happen. So stay tuned. It looks like the Women's World Cup is coming in 2031, but it also looks like not all the games are going to be in the United States, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it really helps grow the women's game around CONCACAF. Speaking of the women's game, Kansas City Current, huge win at or on the road at Audi Field over the Washington Spirit. 19,254 fans on hand. KC won 2-0 in that one. Real Madrid, their women's team won the Clasico against Barcelona for the first time ever. 18-match losing streak. Madrid won 3-1 in front of 35,000 fans in Barcelona. Caroline Weir scored the decisive goals in the 87th minute and in stoppage time. Madrid is 4 points off of Barcelona through 23 rounds of La Liga F. Newcastle United in the Women's Championship, the second division in England, they smashed the attendance record, 38,500 fans for their game, their derby match against Sunderland, more than doubled the previous league record, which Sunderland set in October. Newcastle won the match 1-0. They move into sixth place in the English second division. Let's move to the USL Championship. Oakland Roots, their first game at the Oakland Coliseum. 26,575 fans, second largest in USL Championship history. But Oakland dropped their third game in a row to start the season. They lost to San Antonio 2-1. San Antonio is the only remaining team in the U.S. second division with no losses or draws. Their record is 3-0-0. Get to know this name. Noel Urbaniak. He is a 15-year-old who served as a ball boy in Germany for their Nations League match against Italy, and he has been given an honorary assist in this one. Germany advanced to the semifinals 5-4 on aggregate. It was a 3-3 draw. All kinds of chaos in this one. Germany scored 3 in the first half. Italy scored 3 in the second half. But the second goal in this one, crazy situation, and the ball boy was a huge part of it. So it's a corner after a save from Gianluigi Donnarumma. He's yelling at teammates. Maybe they're yelling at the referee. I don't know. Everybody's yelling. They're not paying attention. And Urbaniak, the ball boy, noticed that this was happening, quickly threw the ball to Joshua Kimmich. He took the corner quickly. Musiala put the goal away from inside the six uncontested. And that ends up deciding this. And it's a really big goal for Italy to concede as well, not just because of the tie here, but that means Italy, instead of going into a 4-team World Cup qualifying group with the highest ranked nation being Slovakia, where you should win that group and advance, now you go into a 5-team World Cup qualifying group and you got to deal with Norway. Erling Haaland, Martin Odegaard, quite a few really good players with Norway, who hasn't qualified for the World Cup in a long, long time and are hungry to do so. That goal, that moment, that ball boy ends up really potentially changing the World Cup qualifying scene in Europe. Craziness. Let's go to World Cup qualifying in South America to close things out here on a super jam-packed morning espresso. Rafinha, he's the front runner for the Ballon d'Or, in my opinion. He kicked things off between Brazil and Argentina. They meet Tuesday night at El Monumental in Buenos Aires. Rafinha jumped onto Romario's TV show in Brazil, which is always a dangerous thing to do, but he did it. He said Brazil would beat Argentina, quote, without a doubt, unquote. He added that they would beat them, quote, on and off the pitch if necessary, unquote. He also said that he would score, and he also said that Argentina, quote, can go to hell, unquote. And I think there were other things that were said that maybe get lost in translation or maybe don't, depending on your understanding of 4-letter words. Argentina hasn't beaten Brazil in Argentina in a World Cup qualifier since 2005. Juan Roman Riquelme had an incredible match there. They did win at the Maracanã in Rio earlier in this qualification process. It's already going to be spicy between Argentina and Brazil. You add in a few things that Rafinha has to say here, and things will get very, very interesting tomorrow night. I would not be surprised if Rodrigo de Paul goes in flying for a tackle on Rafinha at some point early in the match. Stay tuned to that one. That's going to do it for us on the Morning Espresso. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. Thank you for following us on the social media platforms. Thank you for subscribing wherever you like to get your podcasts. And there will not be a Morning Espresso tomorrow. There will be Atlanta Soccer tonight, this evening on 92.9 The Game at 10 o'clock. You can listen to it live on the Odyssey app as well, or on demand on the Odyssey app, or wherever you get your Off the Woodwork podcast from 92.9. Morning Espresso will be back on Wednesday with a whole bunch of recaps of a whole bunch of World Cup qualifying over the next couple of days. Until then, adios, y'all.